Hello, everybody. I'm Mark Caputo, also known as Big Mark or Fat Mark in my past days. This is the story of the secrets behind the red doors. These red doors are the Bergen Hunt and Fish Club. This is the most infamous social club in the tenure of a famous John Gotti, one of the most popular, powerful mob bosses in the history of organized crime. But this story is the true story of the daily happenings of the Bergen Hunt and Fish Club, what went on there, who visited, all the true stories I know firsthand. It's not a story about me, and it's not a story about talking derogatory about anybody. This is a story I should be told. This man came from nothing, became one of those powerful men in the world based on two things: having the balls and having the guts and brains to take it. I'm going to tell you stories from the beginning, when he was a captain, all the way up to a boss, everything emanating from the Bergen Hunt and Fish Club. These red doors had a reputation in New York City. They call it, oh, those are them guys from the red doors, the Bergen. Them guys, don't fuck with them guys. So here's my story. Let me give you my background about why I want to do this story. This is a man who came from nothing. Through his charisma and his drive, he had people, I've seen it, follow him everywhere. You know, a leader, a great leader has followers. He had followers. People would do anything for him. That was his launching point. How I started by the Red Doors is easily, I was a manager of a bar 2 blocks away called the 101 Bar. They used to come visit it. John, his brother Jeannie, Pete Gotti, Joey Scopo. They'd come and drink at night. There was a couple of troublemakers in there that I tossed out of the place. Listen, I'm not afraid of anybody. I'm a tough guy, but, you know, and they liked me. So they started with them giving me football tickets to bet. You know, the football strips on Saturdays. You send them, you get 25 cents on every dollar you collected, and I turned them in every Saturday by the club. Every time I walked in the Bergen Hunt Fish Club that Saturday before 12, I turned my tickets in, give them the cash, and they give you my cut. Sometimes Pete or little Jackie hang around, sit down, you want a coffee, you want something to drink, and that's how it started. They got to know me better, I got to know them better. More and more come by, hang out, and now went from that. You start off on the bottom rung of the whole life. So John took a liking to me, John Gotti, and from, you know, getting his car, taking his car to get washed, to putting his sports bets in, to going to the track to put his horse bets in. You're talking about a gambler, second to none. Then they found out that I was not only ballsy, but I was intelligent. You know, a lot of guys can't add, you know, a lot of guys can't read. So I became more trusted. Then I was sent to do some things, collect money, or there was problems in different locations. That's how it started. That's how you gain trust. And later on in life, I did John a favor, and I got trusted even more. So this is how you become close to somebody without it being anything but a friendship and more than that. I was invited in his house. He asked me to keep an eye on his son when he went out to clubs. I know his son didn't like that, but I didn't like it either. It's a thankless job, but I did what he asked me. So this is that story about those red doors. Those doors are the epitome of a mob social club. I'm going to take you inside them. You're going to see daily happenings, true stories that I was there, either I was involved with or I was in a circle of people, conversations, things you've never seen before. Not the same garbage that the feds had or the newscasters had or the false idiots on YouTube who didn't know the man. If they spent 10 minutes with him a month, it was a lot. This is going to see the real man and see the happenings. I'm going to take you, first person to take you inside a social club and see that life. Like I told you, I'm not here to defame or talk bad about anybody. I'm not used to be part of the Bergen Hunt and Fish Club. I want you to realize what that life's about and see it firsthand. And I'm going to tell you that this story can go on for years because there's hundreds of stories that you never heard of. People in the life still know me now. I know these stories. Some even applaud me telling them, only because it's an era of greatness in the 80s. I mean, we ruled the city. Not just us, the other families too. We walked through New York City like it was a license to do everything. So you have to see something special. Watch this man grow and realize he wasn't the Dapper Don or the guy who screwed up the mob. You want to know a story about the mob? Well, listen, Joe Colombo and Joe Bananas were on talk shows in the 60s. So to blame him for the downfalls of the mob is kind of really stupid. It's just a lot of jealous people. He did what he had to do to achieve what he wanted. And he went and got it. A lot of guys don't have the guts to get it. He went and got it. So you come along with me, Big Mark, and I'm going to tell you a story that's going to make you laugh, make you shake your head, and make you wonder, really? That's what it was like? You're going to hear stories about, will there be violence? Of course there will. Will it be degenerate gambling? Yes. Will it be practical jokes? No. You're going to see a little bit mixed in. And you're going to see 40, 50 mob members that used to come visit them weekly for the Wednesday night dinners, not Saturday night dinners like some people say. It was Wednesday night. Come there and hang out from all walks, from New Jersey, from Philadelphia, from California, from Florida. Guys came, they wanted to see John. I'll tell you stories about movie stars that came to visit him, or even an event, so many different events. I want you to be part of the Bergen. And eventually, we're going to have the Bergen where you could come in and watch and be part of the Bergen Hunt and Fish Club. Wouldn't that be something? One of the most infamous social clubs in the world, where bred the famous John Gotti, who, to me, you have to look up to the guy who achieved something from nothing. Nobody was perfect. I'm not here to talk derogatory about him or the other guys that came there. I'm just telling you about the truth about their personalities and the stories that went on. You be the judge. First story I want to tell you is a little background on me and how I got started. I was 19 working in a one-on-one tavern, and I got close. Tommy, the bus driver, who grew up in East New York with all of the Gottis and the whole crew over there, hired me, and they started coming in regularly. I didn't know who they were. I knew there were some guys from the social club. You know, I grew up without a father since I was a kid. So I moved around on the streets, but I was a regular guy. But so they started coming in. Tommy's telling me, that's John Gotti. I says, that's a big man right there. He's going to be a big man. So he tells me, really? He says, just treat them with respect and take care of you. So John, that night, is drinking with 4 of the guys, Redbird Gnomes, well-known guy, his brother Pete, and they're drinking until 5 o'clock in the morning. I locked the bar and they were drinking, and he gave me a $200 tip. A $200 tip. This is 1980. 200's huge. So I asked Tommy about the guy. He told me he gave me $200 tips. Let me tell you a story about John, how I know him. I know him since we're teenagers. So he's telling me the story. He goes, John was a bookie hanging around the streets. They had a bookmaker biz out of an abandoned car in East New York and Brownsville. So word got around that Johnny Gotti had a bunch of kids, the Rockaway boys, hanging around, and Charles Fatico, Charlie Wagons, was the captain of that area. He was a captain right on Albert Anastasia. So word gets around, who's this Johnny Gotti? He says, call him in, I want to meet him. So word gets out, they sent, Johnny had to be maybe 18, 19 years old. John shows up to meet him. They look out the social club, from Bergen Street, and a guy opens and says, Charlie, you got to see what's out there. Johnny's across the street with 40 guys behind him. All his friends follow him to the club. He's wearing a purple suit with a purple leather jacket. They're going, look at this guy. Johnny comes walking in, sauntering into the club, says hello, like a gentleman, says hello to everybody, and Charlie sits, Wagons, introduces himself. He says, now you're with me. He says, as he walks out, Charlie says, this guy's going to be a boss one day. You see all them guys following him? They're following him to the club. They didn't know where they were going. He says he's got some personality. He's boss material. So that's what Tommy told me. He was boss material at 20. It was all up to him. So now that I find out who he is, I hear his great accolades. Every time he comes in, he likes to joke around, and I become friendly. I'm a good talker. I'm not a shy guy. And guys come in, bother him for money. I grab him and throw him out of the bar, and that's how I become close. Eventually, after a few weeks, they invite me to come by the club. And I had nothing. I had a job in a bartender. I was 19. I admire these guys. They're pulling up in Lincolns, Cadillacs. They dress nice. Who am I? I'm just an Italian kid from Ozone Park. I decided to do the football tickets. and then step by step, working in the club, helping out on Wednesday nights. Johnny would talk to me. He'd have conversations with me, and I'd answer him because I'm well versed, I'm well read, and he was too. He liked to read. So we'd have sports conversations about the Yankees, and it became like a banter. And from there, I started working a continental game, started working a poker game, and inch by inch, I started getting more acclimated to that lifestyle. And I'm meeting all these guys coming in, dressed, money, gold chains on. It's very intimidating, but also very intoxicating. I mean, you got to understand something. I had nothing. I came from nothing. So, and I finally felt I belonged to something. Just hanging around them, they gave me that sense of being involved. And they're all Italian. I love my culture. I love being Italian. So this was just, I thought, natural growth. And it also gave me that sense of power I never had. Now it was part of something very powerful, and maybe people, when they see me, would treat me differently. That's a big thing for a guy like me. And that's how the story went. And slowly hanging out, learning, putting bets in. Let me tell you something. But the most intimidating sight I ever seen, I was there maybe 6 months or a year. One day, Johnny walks into the club at night and tells Charlie Deke. Charlie Deke did 20 years in Leavenworth. He was part of the club. He was part involved. He says, Charlie, go upstairs to the apartment, get me the duffel bag. So there was about 15 guys in the club. Johnny said, all right, you guys don't leave. We got a problem. Angelo Ruggiero, Quack Quack, is bringing Neil here. Now, for you guys, if you don't know, Neil Delacroce was the underboss of the Gambino family, but also Johnny's mentor. Johnny was like a son to him. And so somebody made a move on Neil. I want nobody to move. We're all looking at, I'm a young kid, but John, whatever we got to do, we'll do to impress John. It's all about impressing John. So Charlie walks in with this duffel bag, and John opens up this duffel bag, and there's shotguns, pistols, a MAC-10, hand grenades. There's more. I thought it was like a military operation. He goes, all right, everybody line up, take a pistol. Ever shoot a gun before? No. Well, you're going to have one. I want you to. He had 15, 20 guys. All right. Now, everybody take a gun, put in their pants. You two guys go down that block. I want to surround the club with armed guys. Now, you understand, I'm new there. So I'm not going to say no, show fear. Fuck, screw this. I'm going for it. I want to impress him. But I'm watching all these guys. So the Bergen Hunt Fish Club was up between 98th Street and 99th Street on 101st Avenue. There was a bank lot next door. And we had guys there was an old trestle, Long Island Railroad trestle. We had guys up there, guys in every corner for 2 square blocks, all loaded, waiting for Neil. All of a sudden, 20 minutes later, Angelo driving a black Park Avenue, pulls up, gets out of car. Johnny meets Neil. Neil sees them. He goes, they hug each other. Johnny says, look what I got for you. Neil looks around. He sees all these guys for 3 or 4 corners standing there. He says, they're all packing. He says, nobody's going to come at us. Neil smiles. Angelo starts laughing. He goes, if the guys see this in any crew in this city, they're going to pee themselves. Nobody could do this, he says. That's why I love you. Let's go in and order some food. You guys stay out there. After everybody goes in, stay by the front door. That was John. John had regular guys take pistols looking to protect his boss. This was my first involvement of strength, fearless attitude. I said, wow, I want this. I feel emboldened, and I'm going to do everything right and be a loyal friend. And that was the first sign that I thought I was the most powerful people in the city. Nobody could stop us. So that's one of the stories that made an impression on me, that made me realize this is the direction I want to be in. And very impressive on me. And I took that and ran with it. And I have, piece by piece, different stories. You're going to sit there of what went on, the conversations. And you say, this happened. I was there. I'm telling you, you're gonna love this. That was just one tidbit. One tidbit. Let me finish the end of that story when Neil came to the Bergen. You see what happened? Angelo Ruggiero, who was like a nephew to Neil, was driving him home. So this is right after the 3 captains in the Bennett family got killed. It was notorious assassination. Notorious assassination. It was in Donnie Brasco. He just had the wrong guys in it. But so they were driving, and a wise guy with that family that was under them spots Neil and Angelo driving the car. And he gives them he goes to say hello, but he goes, hey, like that. Like, what's up? So because they thought it was a move. There was three guys in a car, and it looked like a move. So Angelo got off the bridge, went to a payphone, and called John. That's where all this army showed up. What happened was when John reached out to Joe Messina, Joe, what the fuck is this guy doing, man? He gave a fucking gun sign to Neil. Really? Nah, can't be. He said, let me find out. He tells the guy, so what'd you do? They had 20 guys with guns on 101st Ave waiting for you. 20 guys with guns, he says. He said, no, I was saying hello, but you gave you went like this to point. I was pointing like, oh, look who it is. It's Neil, he says. He said, no, I have no, it was a wrong thing. I want no problems. They had 20 guys with guns? Really? He says, wow, he says, that's powerful, he says. So that's how the story, it was a mistake that was misread. But just go figure this out. A little mistake can get a lot of guys killed in that life. Even if it wasn't meant to be what you saw, everybody's eyes see everything different. In that life, believe in half of what you see and none of what you hear. You know what I mean? You have to really take into account. So that happened to the mistake. After that event, as the days went on, during the club, now you're one of the guys who carried a gun that got involved in the what do you call the gauntlet surrounding the Burger Hunt Fish Club. He got involved. They asked me to come hang out on Wednesday night. Now I'm watching Wednesday night. It's dinner. Johnny had the guys in the club, little Jackie, all guys would cook gourmet dinner, pasta, a meat, a fish, salad for like 50 guys. They'd be cooking all morning. And the tables, they set up 3 tables in the club. Now here's my first look at what came to dinner with John. This is, you want to talk about being impressed? Johnny, then Angelo, then there would be Joe Messina, then there would be Joe Butch, there would be Frankie Dapp. Now these are names we'll get to later, but they were all, I'm mentioning captains in the game. There would also be guys from other families, from the Bonanno family, from the Colombo family. A lineup, I don't think every 40 guys at the table, I think the least powerful guy was a button guy, was a good fella. But they all sat there to have dinner with John. It wasn't an order, it was an honor. They were like, and he would sit there and we'd serve dinner, help out. And I'm watching. At the end of the night, Pete Gotti would say to me, come on, they're going to have a card game, a continental game. He says, you're the only guy, you want to keep score and cut the game? Because nobody else here knows how to do it. I ain't doing it, he says. Sure. And I started. And at the table, Jimmy Brown Fiella, you know what that is, right? Johnny, Angelo Ruggiero, Joe Messina, and even maybe Willie Boy would sit at the table. And they're playing Continental. Continental was a card game like gin, like Ramino, but their own version. And they had 25. They get to 100. You could buy back in 3 times. So I'm watching the pots. Start off with $1,000 each. Now, you're going to understand something. I'm 19, 20 years old, came from nothing. These guys are putting up $1,000 like I was throwing nickels at a goldfish bowl at a bazaar. So, and from then on, the game would go on to 5,000, 10,000. I cut the game, never had a problem, and they talk to you. And I handled the game well. At the end of the night, and if this is 1980, I get paid and plus the tips. We whack up the tips, me and Jimmy Irish. I'll tell you a story about Jimmy Irish. John took him out of prison and gave him a job and took care of him for the rest of his life. We split up. Pete Gotti would come to us, here's what you made today. He handed me $800. I worked from 10 at night till 10 the next morning. $800. I walked home. I lived 5 blocks from the club. I was on cloud 9. $800. This is great. There's another enticement. This was John. Either you, around the Bergen, either you were broke or you made great money. It was all up to you if you were smart and aggressive. So the story went on, putting his bets in, becoming more trusted, going there on Saturday, talking about the Yankees, talking about sports. John was a very underdog guy, and I learned that. It was easy to talk to. And then we would just grow from there. And I became part of the how would I say, enforce muscle guys at the Bergen. There was a problem, I wasn't afraid to do anything. Pete said, come on. Some guy came in the club one day that year. We were eating Chinese food. The guy bolted the club. He said, hey, Tony's around. He says, ain't no Tony here. The guy said, big guy. He said, me and Pete dragged him up, went to work on him outside the club. We dragged him around the block. Just simple things that make you endeared to that club. So I was there every day, 7 days a week. And this is where I gained all that access and knowledge of every story. You have to understand something. This life is good, but as the years went on, it got even better. And I could see why a guy like me was enticed by it. But John was a very addicting person. You could, not an addicting gambler, but you could be addicted to him. His persona, he'd treat you like you were one of the guys. You know, it was my first sign that one day, Memorial Day, that year. We're sitting there, he calls up, he goes, come meet me by the club, I'm buying the club, put some bets in for me. So sitting by the club is me, Tony Roach Rampino, Jimmy Irish, and John. We're just talking, watching the Yankee game. All of a sudden, who walks in the door? Frankie Valli. Hey, Frank, how you doing? So John's the kind of guy, because I saw the door open. He said, what are you doing around here? He says, my girlfriend's parents live in Regal Park. I said, I'm going to pass by John's club, and they're going to see John. John, interested. These are friends of mine, Tony, Jimmy, and Mark. And he'd get over and shake his hand. That was John. John didn't say, come talk to me and just ignore you. You know, John knew how to be a personal guy, make you feel important. And that was the whole situation about that Bergen Hunter Fish Club. It attracted everybody. We're going to go step by step. You're going to hear the growth of this story. You know, my involvement. Listen, I'm an associate. I did what I was told to do. My honor meant everything, even though I wasn't even, I wasn't a May guy. It was personal character. And John instilled that. John made guys want to be around him. I want you to see the different voices, the different people, the characters. You're going to come in there and say, this is really true. I'm not here to pump myself up. I want to show you the life in that era. But 15 years there. So this is the first year. Very impressive first year. I wasn't there every day the first year. I was there maybe 3-4 days a week. I wasn't there on a Sunday. But the idea was from 3 to 4, 5, 6, 7, that I got my home phone number. John calls me at the house. Meet me by the club. That's what it becomes. And it became so simple. And I walked around so proud in the neighborhood. People knew me. It was a hello. We walked in restaurants, in bars. Hey, Mark, how you doing? What can I get you? You got treated you talk about an addictive personality. It makes you, wow, they treat me special. Is it because of me or is it because of the guy I'm hanging around? It didn't matter. We ate it up. I mean, and there was guys there for other reasons, for unscrupulous reasons. You couldn't trust as far as you could throw them. But there was guys there who were real men and deserved to be, to me, to be talked with respect. No matter what you think of that life, these guys who struggled and became something and tried something, a lot of people won't have the balls to do. And I respect them for that. So that's, there's so many subjects we're going to talk about. You're going to say to me, Mark, that really happened? And there's not one person who could refute anything I say. That I can guarantee you. I know I could talk fast. Very engaging guy, and I got a lot to say. So let me try to break down, that's in the streets, all street guys try to talk fast. But let me break down the visitors at that Bergen Hunter Fish Club, the Red Doors. Let's start with, who was the boss? John Gotti. Now, John Gotti was the first acting captain. He wasn't even straightened out yet. He was in prison. When Charlie Fatico had to go away because of parole, prison time, he had to semi-retire, John took over. Then it was Angelo Ruggiero. Angelo Ruggiero, quack, quack. I loved Angelo. To me, Angelo was a street guy, true and true. His brother Jeannie, smart, very serious, tough guy. Complete opposite of John, but still his brother. Then we went down to Pete Gotti. Pete Gotti was John's brother. Then it was Tony Roach Rampino, who was an enforcer, a scary son of a gun. Tony kind of hands that could crack larynxes on people. That was Tony. Tony Rampino was a legend in state prisons. So from there, you went down to, little Jackie Cavallo was Jeannie's guy. Did everything for Jeannie. Jackie was always sharply dressed, always washing his car, Jackie. Was funny. Always kept everything impeccable. It was Charlie Deke. Charlie Deke was a kind of flaky character. Did 20 years in Leavenworth. I don't think he robbed a bank. I think all he did was supply the guns for them. But whatever. He hung out in the club. Johnny gave him a job. Then was Jimmy Irish. Johnny met him in prison. Jimmy was a junkie, a thief, robbed houses. Johnny took him under his wing in prison, took care of him, cleaned him up, and when he got out, he sent him to the Burger, to the Mr. Pete, give him a job, a place to sleep, take care of him. Jimmy was around the Burger and around the Gottis till he died in his 70s. That's John. John was the underdog guy. So you pick up these stories, you go along. Then you had Sonny the Boxer, who was Sonny DiGiorgio, who was Vicky's cousin, John's wife. Then there was Richie Gotti, John's brother. There was Joe Messina. That time he was the Bonanno captain, became the Bonanno boss, I think. Joey Scopo, who grew up with Jeannie, were close friends, but Joey Scopo was the Colombo family. And then the Visitors, from Johnny Canaglia. There's nothing to say about John. Great guy, businessman, one of the toughest guys you'll ever meet. You don't screw with John. John was a good guy. Always friendly, always, Then it was his brother Charles came around later on. He's doing life in prison. Then from there, you had the Visitors. You had, from Joe Messina, you had from Frankie Dapp. Frankie Dappolito was a captain of Gambino family, was a Teamsters guy. One of the greatest, nicest guys I ever met. You had Frankie DeChico used to come by on Wednesdays or Saturday. John was away with him in jail. Great guy, Frankie. He came with Georgie, or he came with Butter. They came with the whole crew. They were real close, John and Frankie DeChico. So these are names I'm going to pump out here. Sal Vitale was Joe Messina's brother-in-law. He became his underboss. Guys from the guy who's owned Key Food. Johnny called the grease balls. Well, they were Sicilians. We were all Napolitans, so they called the Sicilians the grease balls. But you understand something. There was Willie Boy. Willie Boy was a trusted friend for John for years. Found out later he was CI. I will get to that story. I had a big, I knew Willie Boy well. Willie Boy had true love painted on his knuckles. Was a tough guy. These are some of the characters. I will name names. I will describe them. I've seen Joe Denti, Donnie Shacks. These are guys from the Lucchese family. I've seen guys from the Genovese family. I will name them and describe them to you so you get to know it. So if I'm pumping out names, I want you to follow along. John had visitors. You want his visitors? John Voight, Christopher Walken, Frankie Valli, Mickey Rourke. Listen, most important thing about John, Sinatra would send him messages. I'll tell you a story about that one day. Let's just keep it in order. I can get ahead of myself here. So just bear with me. But I will tell you the names, who they are, guys from L.A., guys from Vegas, guys from Philadelphia, guys from upstate. Every guy will explain so you get a gist of the addiction, the affection, and admiration these people had for John. Not only because he had a lot of muscle behind him, but he just fit the part. Handsome, well-dressed, charisma. You got to understand something. For me, I never seen something like that. So I'm ready. I'm all in. At that time, I'm all in. So you're gonna become all in with John, with me, and the Bergen. And every guy, their nicknames, why they call them the nicknames, you're gonna love these. Like Tony Roach. Well, Tony Roach, he looked like a cockroach. You know what I mean? The guy was 6'3", he had hands the size of baseball mitts. He was a scary guy. It was Willie Boy, Willie the Indian. He was part Indian. There's all these names. Frankie Dapp, that was nickname for Dappolito. Joe Butch, Joe Correo. Joe Correo's father was a gangster. His uncle was a gangster. It was in his family blood. These are guys who came to experience John on a weekly basis. And you will see the interactions and the stories, what they talk about and what they did. And you'll say to yourself, this can't be that life that Hollywood has portrayed. It is that life. You're going to see the truth of it, but you're going to enjoy every minute of it. I promise you, you will not be disappointed in my stories, and you'll trail you for 15 years. I'm going to go step by step. I'll guide you along. I want you to be a member of the Bergen Hunt Fish Club. I know it's closed now, but we're going to open it up again because something this famous should be revived. And should be revived for the people of John's fans from Japan to Vancouver and back. Let me tell you a story about how I even got a little more responsibility and I felt a little more closer to John. When he first set me for my first horse bet, comes to me by the club, he pulls up, he was driving a black 4-door Lincoln Continental town car. Says to me, he goes, Mark, you know Aqueduct? You want to get to Aqueduct? Yeah. He says, here, I got a horse running. How we tested a trainer, gave me a tip. He says, I want you to put $2,000 to win on this horse. I says, that's the first time I've ever seen $2,000 in my hand that was handed to me. So trust me to give me the $2,000. He knows me 6 months. He says, here, and I want you, here's $100 for you. I want you to bet this horse. So fine, now go. You got an hour to get to the track. I go to Aqueduct, which was 8 blocks away. So I remember him telling me, Mark, every 5 minutes, 500. Every 5 minutes, 500. Don't drive the odds down. The horse is a tip. Don't forget, bet that 100 I gave you. So now you're going to understand something. $100 was a lot of money to me. And I never bet horses before, so I'm contemplating, should I bet the horse? What if it loses? I lose $100. My intelligence overcame. I says, you know what? Let me just bet the horse. The horse won by a city block, paid $15. I had to collect $15,000, and I collected $1,500. Now, that $100 turned to $1,500. I go back to him. I bring the money to him. He's got this smile. When John smiled, his mouth lit up. It's almost like a light came out. He says, pretty good freaking tip, huh? He says, yeah. He says, yeah, here's the money. He says, you bet the horse? Yeah, let me see the money, he says. So I show him the $1,500. Okay, all right. Don't blow it all in one space. Hold on to it. So what do? I'm at the racetrack because now I want to race. I figure I can win all the time. So in that conversation, that trusting me with his bets, the next day, whenever he wanted to bet, at night he would call me up, go bet this horse, come by the house, pick up $5,000. I felt like I had a purpose directly with this mythical, this boss, John Gotti. Then it just happened to be that San Gennaro Feast was there. He says, listen, I got to take my son to San Gennaro Feast. I want you to come with us. We'll go by the Ravenite. Neil's got to be there. It's a Sunday. I give his money. You take my son. I want to enjoy the feast. Now I'm trusted with taking his son. From then on, taking his son to the hobby store on Saturdays or take him to a Yankee game. Listen, to me, that's a big deal. You got your young son. Now, John lost a son. Got hit by a car. So this was big to me. So maybe he trusted me also. He knew I wasn't a dummy, that I was sharp, that I was aware of things. So that's how I got closer. Now, to me, closer meant that when he seen you was hello, kiss hello, conversation, and try to make me earn money. That was it. John had one mantra. A lot of guys wanted guys around the club, wanted an army around him. So he wanted you guys there, sometimes keep you there all day. But I didn't mind because John didn't treat me like a piece of garbage. But don't screw up. You screw up, that's a different story. But you're good. So now I have this sense of he trusts me. And from there, my life is in front of me. There's the things you see. Little trickles of conversation come out. Conversation about Sinatra. A conversation about how he despises Paul Castellano. Just little conversations. And they start adding up. They'll add up. If you come along this journey with me, they'll all add up. And the segments and stories will just make you want to hear more. I know they will, because everybody I tell it to wants to hear more. And I want you to be part of it.